Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you and happy week before Christmas. I am excited for Christmas. I'm over ecstatic, excited for Christmas. Welcome to Pop YS Live, Best Books of 2023. This is brand new to me, and I figured everybody has all these lists for the best of each year. And I thought, why don't we share just a couple of titles that I thought were cool for 2023? So let's get started.
Can I jump on with just one more housekeeping thing that might be
Please.
handy for this webinar? So I know Kaylee and Lauren are going to be sharing some books with us too. They don't have slides, but they do have some covers to show y'all. And I don't know, maybe inside pages. Sometimes Janae does that too. But if you should be able to resize the slides and the videos with how we have the Zoom view set up. There's like a couple railroad tracks between the slides and the videos. I think you should be able to make people or slides bigger or smaller. So feel free to adjust that view if that's handy as we go today. And then
And
that's the
I
last thing I'm going to say.
can put the
So much
titles
fun.
in the chat as well.
That'll be
Titles and
great.
authors.
Awesome. Okay, so fun. Thanks, guys.
Perfect. For those who are new to Pop YS Live, welcome. My name is Janae Jackson Doring. I'm the Youth Services Consultant with the State Library of Iowa. There is my contact information, my phone number, email. Please feel free to call me or email me with any youth-related questions or concerns. I love making library visits, and a lot of people that I've seen, they will tell you I will bring goodie bags of books with me. I love dropping off books, so please get a hold of me for any questions or concerns. One of my favorite things of 2023 was meeting authors, and that picture to your right is of Jerry Craft. If you don't know who Jerry Craft is, he is the author of the New Kids series. It was a joy to meet him. He's a very nice individual, and he's stopping the series, which made me cry. I was like, no, because so many kids really relate to that series. So that was my highlight of 2023. I hope you have highlights from 2023 as well. And we have two special guests today. We have two special panelists. Kaylee Scepter from Mount Pleasant Public Library. She's the director at Mount Pleasant. And we have Lauren Roberts, who is the director of Oxford Public Library. They will be sharing their picks as well. And Lauren is also a team member of the All Ira Reads Team Committee. So we welcome them today and thank them. And they'll be sharing their picks also in the chat as well. And just our table of contents for today. We'll start out with Kaylee's book selections or book picks. This is going to be kind of an informal best of list. So instead of the best picture books, I wanted to give you guys something you could use. So we're going to talk about funny picture book read alouds, because let's face it, you need books for story times, all kinds of story times. We'll cover second through third grade chapter books, middle grade picks, my graphic novel picks, teen picks. We'll have Lauren's book picks, and then some upcoming events and closing announcements. So, also, what were your favorites of 2023? This is going to be interactive. We want you to share your favorite titles as well. And you can let us know in the chat or on Padlet. Padlet is a special platform where you can enter online your titles. Once we have all the titles, we'll share that as well. But if you want to copy that link that Sam put into the chat, padlet.com/Samantha or /Samantha Bowers /PYSL 23 books. Enter your titles in there and we'll make sure that everyone gets that list as well. I also have a book list with all the ISBN numbers. So if you want to order these for your collection, I also have that as well. And without further ado, I am going to turn off my camera and my mic, and I will turn it over to Kaylee.
All right. So I chose two books for my best of 2023. I've been kind of a terrible reader this year, and I've read older books, but I've read two from that were published this year that I found to be very, very good. The first one I want to start out with is Andrew Joseph White's The Spirit Bears Its Teeth. I'm not in the camera there. But it is a fantastic book that takes place in Victorian London, Victorian England. And I think the letter to the author kind of tells it better than I could. But The Spirit Bears Its Teeth is 400 pages of anger, fear, queer history, ghosts, and graphic surgery. It's about a trans autistic boy struggling against the cruelty of Victorian England and helping the spirits of those who did not survive it. It is about trans people loving one another through tragedy, the importance of disabled perspectives, and 100 terrible things attempting to smother what little light our characters find. It's another rough one, of course, but did you really expect anything else from me? Because he had written Hell Followed With Us, which I'm currently reading right now. And he also says, I hope you love The Spirit Bears Its Teeth, its sweet, scared protagonist, Silas, and the vicious girls of Braxton's finishing schools and sanatorium as much as I do. And it is correct. It is about horror, queer history, anger, but also trans happiness, which is we need a lot of in this world today. But it also talks about autistic characters, even though they didn't have a name for it back in Victorian England. It's a fantastic book. Anybody who would be interested, but it does have a lot of trigger warnings. So I would go in and look at the trigger warnings on that. Yes, I will type it in the chat here. Okay, there we go. But it is an Andrew Joseph White. And then, okay. But it's a fantastic, fantastic book. I can't say enough good things about it. And I recommend it to everyone. And then the second book that I chose is The Davenports by Crystal Marquise. And it's about another historical fiction about a Black family in Chicago. The parents have moved up to Chicago, escaped slavery, moved up, and became one of the rich echelons in society. And the father owns a carriage company, but also there's a struggle between becoming an automotive company, and it's based on the C.R. Patterson family, who owned a carriage company, but then became the first Black-owned automotive company in the United States, and the only Black-owned at that time. But it's a fantastic book. The second book is coming out in, I think, May of next year, or sometime next year. It's coming out, and it's about love and loyalty and figuring out where you are in society, because the oldest daughter thinks, oh, I'm going to just continue on, but then she meets someone who kind of changes her worldview a little bit, and then it goes into the story of their maid as well. But it's also a fantastic book that I recommend, and I'll put the title in the chat as well. But those are the two that I've read from 2023 that I thought were just fantastic. And that's what I've got.
Awesome. I was just telling Kaylee and Lauren before the webinar started that I can't wait to read The Spirit Bears Its Teeth. I had checked it out, and you know how you lose time and you're like, oh man, and then you got to take it back. So that is on my TBR pile. So I am so excited, and I'm glad that you got to read it. I am stoked to read it. Thank you so much, Kaylee. I am so
You are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we are going to move. Once I pull this slide up, there we go. We are going to move to funny read aloud picture books. I wanted to share some funny read alouds just because I know everyone looks for storytime books and it's hard to find those books, but don't worry, I got you covered. So these are my selections for funny picture book read alouds for 2023. If you have not read any Jan Thomas books, please do yourself a favor and grab some Jan Thomas books. This is the newest one she came out with this year, called Problem Solved. And it's about a rabbit. Rabbit needs to clean her messy room, and Pete is the problem-solving porcupine. And he overhears that Rabbit needs to clean their room, and Pete says, problem solved. I can help you do that. But his plan it causes more of a mess. So instead of feeding rabbits clean shirts, instead of rabbit putting their shirts away in their drawer, Pete says, yeah, problem solved. We can fix that. He takes all of Rabbit's shirts and feeds them to the goldfish. Or he takes Rabbit's toys and flushes them down the toilet. And Rabbit automatically says, okay, this isn't going to work. This is a nightmare. So Rabbit has to come up with a plan to basically get Pete out of the house. And so give him a distraction. And so Pete is distracted and Rabbit says, hey, there's some scientists on Mars that need help. Do you want to go help them? And Pete says, problem solved. Very funny, very quirky, funny picture book, just very silly. The other book, the next book that's in the silly category is How Dinosaurs Went Extinct, a safety story. That's written by Amy Dykman. And this is perfect for a dinosaur story time. I loved it just because this young child is asking his dad on a trip, hey, how did dinosaurs become extinct? And his father, being the wonderful father that he is, comes up with the offering of silly answers. Well, the Spinosaurus, he swam after eating. That's how he died. Or the T-Rex didn't change his underwear. Or the Gallimimus ran with scissors. So he comes up with all these zany reasons why the dinosaurs died. It's laugh out loud funny. If you have a dinosaur story or a dinosaur story time or a dinosaur event, I would pick this up because this would be perfect for those types of events. The third book is Mr. S, and Mr. S is adorable. It's written by Monica Arnaldo, and it's about the kindergartners in room 2B. They're on their first day of school and they notice something strange. There's no teacher in the classroom. There's a mug of coffee, an impressive looking sandwich on the desk, and a name on the board, which is Mr. S. And once a ruler drops from the teacher's desk, the kids realize that it wasn't them that did it. It was the sandwich, Mr. S. And so the sandwich is teaching the kids ABCs. A is for avocado, B is for bagel, C is for club sandwich. And they're basically conducting their whole school day with this sandwich. It's just silly, funny. It's good for a first day of school book. So I would definitely pick up Mr. S. And this new one that actually came out this month. This last one is called The Princess and the Greedy Pea. And this is written by Lee Hodgkinson. And this is a mashup between the story of The Princess and the Pea and the story of There Was an Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly, where a very hungry little green pea devours everything in its way. This pea is just hungry. And it follows that sing-song pattern of There Was an Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly. Very funny, cute ending. If you're looking for something for your older elementary kids, I would definitely grab The Princess and the Pea by Lee Hodgkinson. Okay, we're gonna switch gears and we're going to talk about second and third grade chapter books that I liked this year. These were my favorites that I loved for second and third graders. The first one is called Henry Like Always, and that is written by Jen Bailey. Henry is a child on the autism spectrum, but he loves his classroom. He likes the consistent schedule. He loves just basically a routine. However, the following week, the schedule changes and his class is having a parade on Friday, which is the same day as share time, where they sit in a circle and talk about things that they share. So Henry doesn't like the change. He doesn't like the time change. He doesn't like parades because they're too loud. And he's trying to figure out how to adapt to change. This is a short and sweet chapter book about growing up in the classroom and the ups and downs kids face. So he faces marker missiles and stomach volcanoes and days where he just doesn't feel a little too orange, he says. But this was a sweet book and a funny book just to reassure kids that there's all different types of kids that attend school, and we all have our ups and downs within the classroom. So I really loved Henry Like Always. The middle book, The Skull, was my absolute favorite. This is written by John Klassen. It's a Chilean folktale, and it's about a young girl named Otilla. She runs away in the middle of the night, and she's crying. She fell in the snow, and she stumbles upon this old house, and she calls out, "Hello," and finds in the window a skull looking at her. The skull rolls down to the door, lets her in, and on the condition that she has to promise to carry him. And she does. This book gave me such Tim Burton-esque vibes, and it's just perfect for that second to third grade and up crowd. You see the skull dancing around with Otilla. She makes tea for him, which, he can't drink it because it just goes through the chair. And the skull warns her of the headless skeleton that wants its skull back. It's just the right amount of creepy. You don't know why Otilla's running away, but readers are just along for the ride. And that's what I loved. I loved the experience between the two characters. So definitely pick up the skull. And this final one was the story of Gumluck the Wizard. I love this. This was written by Adam Rex and illustrated by him. And Gumluck the Wizard is a short, plucky young wizard who lives inside a big hill and really, really, really wants to be a hero. Gumluck does the bidding of all these rude and ungrateful characters. He's always doing something for them. And he's also the subject of the townspeople's ridicule, all in his pursuit of being crowned the harvest hero in this year's annual festival. But some tough love from Helvetica and a nightmare visit from the Truth Fairy, they kind of spark reflection for Gumluck. So kids can really see the black and white illustrations from Adam Rex because they really bring the story to life. I loved the snarky, sarcastic raven named Helvetica. Helvetica narrates the story, and I love how the raven addresses the reader directly during the telling. It's a tall tale, and it's perfect for second to third grades. So hopefully you will get these in your collection. All right, we're going to move on to the middle grade picks of 2023. And I have these three. This book, the first book, is called The Probability of Everything. This is written by Sarah Everett. And I got to tell you, I don't usually cry during books. I just don't cry. This book hit a gut. I mean, it hit me in the gut. It was one of those books where the ending just stood with me for a long time. And I just had to kind of sit with it. But this is a heart-wrenching story. It's a middle grade story about Kemi. She's 11 years old, and she's an aspiring scientist. And she learns that an asteroid has an 84.7% chance of colliding with Earth in 4 days. And Kemi's distraught. She's like, I don't know what to do. Why are you guys just acting so nonchalant about this? There's an asteroid that's going to hit us. So she decides to assemble a time capsule to capture her family's truth as she tries to come to terms with saying goodbye. But this book does not go in the way that you think. There's a twist ending that you do not see coming, and you're just like, what? Wait a minute. Did I just read that right? I cried, and it was just so good. This book perfectly navigates grief, loss, racism, and just puts it's woven so well. I can't speak highly of it. If you get a chance, please pick up The Probability of Everything. Hopefully you'll feel the way that I felt. It was so good. The second book on my list is Simon Sort of Says. That is written by Aaron Bowe. And again, this is another heartfelt book with a little bit of humor. But this is about a young man named Simon. Simon has moved from Omaha to Grin and Barrett, Nebraska. And he's happy to move to this small town. And the crazy thing about this small town is that it has a national quiet zone. What is a national quiet zone? That means it's a town without internet, cell phones, or television. And he's grateful to have none of that. The reason why is because he was the sole survivor of a school shooting in his classroom back home. So he's grateful that nobody in this new town can Google his name and find him. So in the new town where he's living, he makes friends with Agate and Kevin, and Simon hopes that this will be the perfect place to find the new version of himself. This is a heartfelt book. You see Simon come of age as he's learning to deal with trauma and the after effects of it. There's also some funny shenanigans into this that keeps readers invested. So definitely pick up Simon Sort of Says for your readers. The last book on my list that I thought was amazing was Mascot. Mascot is written by Charles Waters and Tracy Sorrell. This middle grade story takes place in Rye, Virginia. And in Rye, Virginia, people are working class, they work hard. And the thing that they look forward to every Friday is the Friday night football game with the middle schoolers. However, it's a racist mural and the offensive pep rally chants that shocked the new student, Callie Crossland. Callie is a citizen of the Cherokee Nation and she's African American. And during her high honors English class, she shows her frustrations by reading a poem that she wrote. And her 5 other classmates read poems expressing different views. And after hearing all of the poems, the English teacher, Mrs. Williams, decides to have all 6 classmates debate whether Rye's mascot should stay or should it be changed. And I love this story because each middle schooler has different backgrounds, different beliefs, and they get involved in this issue. And you see how the friendships are tested between the kids and how these situations can be challenging. It really focuses on identity, tradition, and what it means to stand up for change. So definitely pick up these 3 selections for your collection. Kelly says she also enjoyed Mascot. Oh, yes, excellent. I love it. And Taylor says someone needs to tell whoever purchased titles for Libby to add the probability of everything. Yes, I'm telling you, that book was so good. And again, if you see any titles that you want to add to the Padlet, please enter them or please enter them into the chat. Okay, we are going to move on to graphic novel picks. And I got to tell you, this was so hard to narrow it down. There's so many good graphic novels out there. But for the sake of time, I did kind of narrow it down. So we have our teen graphic novels. These 2 in particular stuck with me. I just felt something after I read them. The first one is called The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich. This is an LGBTQ graphic novel by Daya Muniz. And this is about Lady Campbell-Bert. Hopefully I'm saying that right. She wants to live a new life, just live her life, excuse me. But she wants to live her life without marrying a man. But the law of the land is that women cannot inherit any money unless they're married to a man. So when her father has passed away, she does the only thing that she can think of. She disguises herself as a man and moves to the capital city of the Kingdom of Fromage to start over. And so she becomes Count Camembert. But it's hard for the Count to keep a low profile, especially when the beautiful blonde Princess Brie, with her fierce activism and her great sense of fashion, catches her attention. And the Count can't resist getting to know her. This was a fun and sweet romantic LGBTQ graphic novel. I enjoyed it immensely. I love the characterization. I love the will they, won't they type of feeling when you're reading it. Great selection. So I would definitely recommend it. The other book on my list is called Constellations. And this is written by Kate Glasheen. And this focuses on Claire in the 1980s in Troy, New York. Claire has dealt with this question her whole life. Are you supposed to be a boy or a girl? She doesn't know what or who she wants to be. And she's harassed at school. She's groped at a party. And the only way she knows how to survive in New York is drinking alcohol with a classmate. and she's constantly drinking. And during an incident, she runs into a pedestrian with her bike while she's drunk, and she is sent to court-ordered rehab. And while she's there, she meets a therapist who helps Claire and four other teens find sobriety and fight their addictions. I really loved the watercolor illustrations in this story. I thought Kate did a great job of exploring gender identity, recovery, love, and just finding yourself. Some of the quotes that the therapist was saying was just resonated. I was like, wow, this is so deep. It's just a fascinating graphic novel. So I would definitely pick these up for your teen graphic novel collection. Okay, middle grade. There were so many middle grade. It was hard to narrow it down, but I narrowed it down to this four. The first one is A First Time for Everything. Dan Santat won the National Book Award for this book, and rightfully so. It is fantastic. It's about Dan as a middle schooler. He's bullied by girls. He tries to keep a low profile, but he's always bullied. His parents decide to send him to a 3-week trip to Europe with his classmates. And it's during that trip that he really finds himself and he discovers who he wants to be. He also has a crush on the new girl during the trip. And you see him discover love and discover acceptance. It's just amazing. And the cool thing about this book, there is a Spotify playlist. There's a QR code where you can scan it and you can actually listen to Dan's playlist that he created, his little music tape in middle school. And it has U2, The Cure, Depeche Mode on there, Madonna, all these cool artists that kids can be exposed to. Great book, great illustrations, definitely pick it up. School Trip, this is the last book in the series by Jerry Craft. It's book 3. It is just an amazing book. You have the returning characters, Jordan, Drew, Liam, Mari, and all the friends from Riverdale Academy Day School. They find out that they're heading out on a school trip to Paris. And Jordan's excited because he's an artist. He can't wait. He can't wait to see all the amazing art in the City of Lights. But something happens. Their trusted faculty guides are replaced at the last minute. And the school trip takes kind of an unexpected turn. It is just funny. I loved the characterization. I loved how the kids stood up for themselves. It is very funny, very realistic fiction. It is amazing. Bethany says, what's book 1 of School Trip is part of? It is, book 1 is New Kid. And I'm putting that in the chat. This is a fantastic series. I am so sad that he is ending the series, but if you get a chance, pick up School Trip. The first book is New Kid, and the second book is Class Act, and I'm putting that in the chat as well. This third book is called Hoops, and I don't know if you guys have heard of it. This is by Matt Tavares. This is a debut graphic historical novel, and it is inspired by true events. It follows a girls' high school basketball team in Wilkins, Indiana, and this takes place in 1975. So the art teacher at the high school, she moonlights as the basketball coach, and there's never been a girls' basketball team in Wilkins, Indiana, and so the coach is fighting to have a basketball team. They don't even have uniforms. They just have shirts with letters with numbers on the back. But this team, they worked so hard and they proved themselves win after win after win, despite the advantages. And this is where Title IX comes into play as well. But you see Judy and her teammates, Lisa, and the Lady Bears, that's the team. But they just keep playing and playing and playing and winning, and more people are starting to take notice. So the other thing to tell you, they had no jerseys until late in the season. They had to ride, not in a bus, but they had to ride into the art teacher's RV because they had no bus authorized to take them to their tournaments. But slowly but surely, you see them win, and they build a following, and they won their championship. This is a powerful book. If you have basketball enthusiasts, girls who love basketball, definitely recommend Hoops to them by Matt Tavares. This last book is just one of my favorites. This is Eerie Tales from the School of Screams, and this is written by Graham Inable. I love this book because there's a brother and sister who are not scared of school, but they're scared of their teacher. And Miss Nomad wants her students to present the class with the most spookiest, most chilling stories that they can think of. There are 5 stories, 5 creepy tales in this gem, and the last story is a wraparound that ties everything together. This was spine-tingling. They're just such good stories. There's a girl that lives with her evil aunt and uncle who uncovered her father's dismembered remains with help from a talking head. There's a story about a space crew navigating a time loop's fallout. It's just awesome. If you're looking for something that's different from scary stories to tell in the dark, or if they're reading above Goosebumps, recommend Eerie Tales from the School of Screams. That was my total favorite this year. There we go. All right, and we have teen mangas because I know how many people ask, hey, we need more mangas. I got you covered. These are 4 teen mangas that I recommend this year. The first one is Bloody Sweet. All of these are the first in the series, written by and illustrated by Nare Lee. This is about Nareem. She's an outcast at her school. Her ex-friend Gina and Gina's friends, they bully her a lot. And her mother is kind of like nowhere to be found. She's just pretty much aloof. And so she gets into an accident, Nareem does, and she attracts this vampire named Fetichu. It's a 500-plus-year-old vampire who desires her blood. But he notices that she's being bullied, and he just wants to make her feel better. I really loved this because it was a sweet vampire novel. It does deal with bullying and depression, cutting, but you see this vampire really building Nareem's confidence and bringing that normalcy back to her life. It's a great, great story, and I can't wait to get my hands on the second one. Unordinary is an action-packed superhero manga series by Uru Chan. It's about this high school that's filled with students who have superpowers, and John is a transfer student who also has mega superpowers, but he has to keep quiet about it because it could bring down the school's social order. This was really cool because it mixed the sci-fi and fantasy elements together. Really cool story, great characterizations. I love the scenarios between them. Definitely pick up Unordinary. Akane Banashi Volume 1. I loved Akane just because I love the performance aspect. Akane is a young woman. She stirs up scandal when she's discovered taking informal lessons from her father's former teacher. Her father was studying to be a master storyteller, but he was expelled with the others. And so 7 years later, Akane begins climbing the ranks of becoming a master storyteller herself. And she realizes that there's a lot to learn. It's more than just storytelling. And I just loved it. I hope you guys get a chance to pick up Akane Banashi. It does talk about storytelling. You'll definitely just love it. Hopefully you'll love it as much as I did. The Summer Hikaru Died. That's written by Moku Mokurin. And this is about a young man named Hikaru and his friend Yoshiki. They're 2 boys living in small rural Japan. They have opposite personalities, different hobbies, but they remain close friends, and there's a potential romantic relationship. But on one winter day, Hikaru was fatally injured while hiking in the mountains alone. And when he comes back from the mountains, his friend notices that he's not the same. There's something wrong with him. He's not talking the way Hikaru did. He's not eating the same things Hikaru did. And he's noticing that this is a doppelganger. It mixes paranormal elements with kind of sci-fi, a little bit of horror. And there's a lot of secrets in this book. So definitely pick up The Summer Hikaru Died. Okay, we are going to move to teen picks because I want to make sure I have plenty of time. And these were my picks that I have for this year that really stuck with me. The first book to your left is called Their Vicious Games. This is written by Joelle Wellington. And I describe this book as Squid Game. If you've seen the show Squid Game on Netflix, Squid Game on steroids. This book is about Adina. She just graduated from Edgewater Academy, which is a highly respected school. She's been blacklisted from Yale after getting into a fight. And she's chosen by the Remington family, a well-known to-do family, to participate in the Finish. The Finish is a high-stakes competition whose prize of wealth and power can open any door. Adina wants to win so she can get into Yale's good graces and be accepted again into their university. However, when she starts playing these weird games, she's realizing she's playing for her life, because whoever wins also will be selected to marry one of the Remington boys. And that's not what your girl signed up for. There are twists and turns in this book. Adina's a strong character. I love the characterization. I love the scenarios that they get into. Definitely pick this up for your collection. And let's see, Warrior Girl Unearthed. I can't say so much. There's so much said about Angeline Boulley's novel. This is a wonderful book. I really enjoyed Firekeeper's Daughter. That was a great novel. If you enjoyed that book, you will enjoy this because readers are taken back to Sugar Island. And Donis's cousin, Perry is noticing some weird things in the town. She's noticing that there's missing indigenous women in her hometown, and her family becomes involved in a high-profile murder investigation. And there's grave robbers that are profiting off of the tribe. And so Perry has to take matters into her own hands by solving this mystery and reclaiming her people's inheritance. It is a thought-provoking, thrilling novel. It's just very, very well written. So definitely set aside some time to read Warrior Girl Unearthed. And this book, I didn't hear about this book until I saw something on NPR about it. And I was like, whoa, this is a teen novel. Okay. This is called There's No Way I'd Die First. And this is written by Lisa Springer. And this is about Noelle. She's 17 years old, a horror fanatic, and she wants to be a movie critic. And she just created a new podcast called Just Scares. And to celebrate, she's throwing the ultimate Halloween party, and all of the coolest high schoolers are going to be there, especially the cute boy Archer, who she has a big crush on. So she has all the food, the drinks, the entertainment, and she's hired a clown. Yes, a clown named Gage to scare her friends. So everything's going cool, right? The problem is that Gage isn't playing for fun. He's planning to murder them one by one, and he has an agenda of his own. And Noelle has to step up and be a final girl for her life. This was thrilling. I loved this book. I loved how each chapter had a movie quote from a horror film. There's all the scary horror tropes. You don't know what's coming next. I would definitely pick this up if you have horror fanatics at your library. So, and I just wanted to make sure I have time. So now I'm going to turn my mic off and my camera, because now I have Lauren who will share her wonderful picks.
Hello. So those were all great picks. I've kind of been back and forth on reading things, kept catching up on older titles. But some of the titles that I read this year that I wanted to highlight were ones that I haven't really seen around anywhere else. This one I'm kind of starting to see, and it's called Squire by Sarah Al-Faghi and Nadia Shamas. This is a teen graphic novel, and it follows the main character, Isa, who's and here it says second-class citizen, but she's a part of a group that is oppressed by the main power called the Bat Saji and the Empire. And she's seen these propaganda posters all around town about how you can become a citizen by joining the military and becoming this noble knight and going through this process. So she's kind of awestruck by that, and she wants to go off and be a hero. And it looks like her country is starting to go under, or there's some stirrings of war that's beginning. So she is able to go and enter this program, but she also has to hide who she is in fear of prejudice from other people that are also yearning to become knights. Once she's there, she learns that her dream of knighthood is actually not as great as it seems. There's a lot of hate and kind of sinister things that are happening. And she learns to accept herself and be proud of who she is as an Ornu person. This is really great, talking about not only the uses of propaganda, but also kind of like discovering your own voice and figuring out if the things that you're being told you actually believe in too, and then finding a new dream once things don't turn out the way you expect them to. So I would greatly recommend this. And then the next one is a middle grade book called Shinji Takahashi and the Mark of the Kodo by Julie Kagawa. This is a great one. It's a part of Disney Publishing. So I don't know if you've ever been to any of their parks, but it features the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, which I think is like an aspect in or an area or some story society within their parks. But it really goes beyond that, and you don't feel like you're reading something that was made with kind of like parks in mind. This one is great because it's kind of a mix of Indiana Jones, where the explorers are concerned about conservation and returning artifacts back to those that originally had them, and not just keeping them to put in museums and etc. But it features the main character, Shinji, and he's kind of homeschooled. He explores the globe with his aunt. And at one point, he discovers this magical guardian in a totem that then sort of inhabits his body. And there's this evil corporation called the Hightower Corporation that's trying to get the power from this magical guardian to be used for evil. So he joins the Society of Explorers and Adventurers and tries to return this totem back to its homeland. And I always point out, like, I think this is a great way to have adventure and exploring stories while also keeping an emphasis on, hey, maybe once we cross this bridge, we shouldn't cut it down because this might be the indigenous people's only way across this ravine. And it might take them months to rebuild it. So there's just certain things within this that I was like, yes, maybe not doing something for like intense action, high stakes things would be better for the people that have to continue living there. And you're not impeding on their culture. You're actually adding to it and returning things to them in honor of that. So I thought this was great. It's also a series. If anyone wants to start that, there's a second book out now as well. And then the last one is a young adult novel called Harvest House by Cynthia Lateach Smith. I love this cover. This is an awesome cover. This is a horror novel, and it features really a group of teens, but you're mainly following Huey Wolf, which is an Indigenous teen. And it really talks about the importance of using or being knowledgeable that Indigenous peoples are in the present tense and not extinct. They are still people that live amongst us today, and they're not used for horror tropes or anything to add a little bit spice to a haunting. So in this one specifically, they go through and it's starting to be Halloween, and a person in town is going through and they're building a haunted house in this vacant building. And Huey wants to be a part of that because he's also a really big theater kid. And he really believes in valuing his own culture and speaking up against things that he sees are wrong taking place at his high school. So he wants to go and help with this haunted house and its conception, because the money is also going towards a good cause. The only problem is that the main story surrounding this haunted house is going to be the feature of the vengeful spirit of an Indian maiden that supposedly is a local legend that haunts the street in front of the building. And so it kind of follows him as he's dealing with not only a vengeful spirit that actually is a part of the book and is a POV in it, but also having difficult conversations and approaching the creator, as this something that he actually wants to be a part of? Is this something that he should be boycotting? But also it teaches you how to have difficult conversations and having an open and understanding and productive conversation with people about insensitivities and about race, without everyone getting mad at each other and telling the other person what you're doing is wrong. You're a terrible person. You can't do that. But making having an open conversation, learning from each other, and moving forward in a productive way. Everything doesn't happen to, come out 100%, like most things unfortunately don't in today's world. But it's a great way to also introduce why things like an ancient Indian burial ground is really insensitive to the culture itself as well. So I thought this did a really great job of that, but it also being a horror, it does have a haunting aspect. So there is actually a ghost in here that's really interesting to go about. But I wanted to highlight this one because I really haven't seen anyone talk about it, and I really loved it this year.
Awesome. Those are some excellent selections, Lauren. Can you do me a favor, Lauren? Can you put in the chat the second book in the chat, the title and the author? I put the first and the third book, but I didn't catch the second book.
Okay. Oops. Okay. I think I just did. There we go. I just added all of them with the titles and authors in there.
Awesome. Because people were asking, like, can she put that in the chat? Those are some excellent picks, and I can't wait to read them all, especially Harvest House. That looks amazing. So thank you so much, Lauren. I appreciate it. And we are going to move to our final items. For those of you who are list enthusiasts like I am, it's so fun to look at different types of book lists and see what kinds of selections are on there. If you're curious, or if you're saying, hey, I need to add some of these best books to my collection, I put together a best of 2023 lists. So for libraries, you can check out Chicago Public Library's Best of the Best list. Check out New York Public Library's Best Books for Kids. Evanston Public Library has 101 great books for kids. Some other sources I like to look at with best of the year lists. NPR, they have a really cool Best Books We Love yearly edition where they look at adult fiction and adult nonfiction, but then they also do look at picture books, teen chapter books or children's fiction. So definitely check out NPR's Best Books We Love yearly series. School Library Journal, they have their best books list. If you got the Pop YS newsletter this month, I did attach their list as a PDF at the bottom of the newsletter. But they had some great selections this year too, so definitely take a peek at that. They have multiple categories, middle grade, early readers, nonfiction for kids and teens. So definitely check out the School Library Journal's best books list. Publishers Weekly has a best books list as well, all different categories. Kirkus has their best books of 2023 list. That just came out last week, if memory serves me right. They have selections for children, middle grade, and young adult. New York Times, they also published their best children's books as well. I think it was this week that they did that. So there's all different kinds of selections all across the gamut. No list is going to be the same. Every list is going to look different. But I encourage you to take a peek. It's just fun to see what other people select as their favorites. And hopefully maybe they match with yours as well. And really quickly, we do have some upcoming events coming up. In January, I can't believe it's going to be January already. January 10th, we're going to talk about displays, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's going to be 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. We're going to talk about displays, what things should you put on display, how to display it, and some tips and tricks. And if you liked this type of format where I'm just book talking, we do have a webinar called Check It Out. It's once a month on Tuesday. It's usually the fourth Tuesday of the month. The next Check It Out is going to be Tuesday, December 19th from 11 a.m. to noon. It's where I book talk about roughly 25 to 30 books in an hour. And you definitely want to come to next Tuesday's Check It Out because I'm going to preview books that are coming out in 2024. And I have a whole gamut of books that are on my radar and on my Kindle right now that I can't wait to talk about next week. So definitely check it out. Never thought I'd be saying that. That's kind of a tongue twister. But register for both events on Iowa Learns. And Sam, did I miss anything? I don't know if I did I?
I don't think so. I am pulling up the link to the December Check It Out. And then I didn't know, we've got a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Do you want me to share the Padlet a sec?
Yes, please. Did anybody have favorites?
They did. We have
They
some
did?
favorites in there. And I don't know if there's anyone from my home library on the call here, but my holds list got a little long. So I'm going to have to beg the grace of the librarians here and hope that I can get some of those favorites. But here's our Padlet, such as it is. I don't know if I can talk and put the link in the chat at the same time, but you should be able to scroll up and find it. A handful of picture books here that look so fun, and I love the people that put some comments in about why they liked them. Fun fact, in testing the Padlet, this one was mine, and this one, Away to the Stars. This one just had to go back to the library, and my 4-year-old was devastated. He was so excited about Away to the Stars. That was so good. Nothing in the early readers slot yet, so hopefully we might see some grow in there. Our middle grade, we've got a handful here that look really fun.
Ooh, the Lost.
I know you love Angie Thomas, right? She's a favorite of yours.
Yes.
Okay. And then some teen, including our 2023 All Iowa Reads award winner, Angeline Booley's new one. So exciting.
Oh, I must betray
lots of
you.
teens titles here.
I must betray you. Great. That was a fantastic book.
Yeah, you like that one?
Mm-hmm.
And then a handful of graphic novels, quite a few actually. Did you put this one in? Because you were just talking about Duel at lunch. Was that you?
No, I was talking about it at lunch to a coworker, but I'm glad somebody put that in there. Yes, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you.
That's a fun one. Yeah. This coworker of ours has a kid into fencing. So time to read Duel. And then one made it down here in our miscellaneous bucket. But certainly folks can feel free to put in the chat. We can add them into the Padlet. later, or you can just click this little add button in any category here and we'll be able to see what you add as well. So I think this is,
Bing Bang Check a Beat. I love that book.
we're gonna have to get these transferred over from the chat. So very cool. Someone saying couldn't think of any that were major standouts. It is hard when it's like, oh, I had a great reading year. I loved it. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, did that come out in 23 or 22? And I
Right.
know, like I read this long thing about how the New York Times picks its 10 best adult books of the year. And I do not envy them that process. It's got to feel a little bit like the All Iowa Reads committees, I imagine, trying to say like, okay, here's these wildly different books. Let's pick which one we want to give the award to. So, but always a lot of fun. So good
Looks like
deal.
Bells and the Gilded Ones. Taylor says the third installments of the Bells and the Gilded Ones came out this year, and I cannot put them down. Excellent.
Very fun.
I got some more stuff to add to my TBR, and hopefully I will get
Yeah.
it read on time, so that
Yeah.
way I don't have to give it back early. I was
Yeah.
bummed out. Womp womp.
Yeah, those new ones you got to read fast, huh? Well, thanks everyone for being here today. A big thank you to Kaylee and to Lauren for sharing their picks with us as well. What a lot of fun
Thank
to
you.
hear what is being enjoyed in your libraries and by you in practice librarians as well. And for those of you who added into the Padlet in the chat, what a lot of fun. So we're going to take attendance today. We'll post that up into Iowa Learns, and then you'll have access to the evaluation. Once that is done, Iowa Learns will alert you. So thanks to Janae, Lauren, Kaylee, all of you for attending. Hopefully we'll see you at the December Check It Out. Otherwise, if we don't see you, have a great end of 2023 and start of 2024. Thanks, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.